corner of the ballroom, Evelyn had already messaged her board chair. Trigger Clause 14. Ethics and Conduct. And by morning the financial press would be buzzing, because Ardentis Global issued a brief, devastating statement announcing the immediate cancellation of merger talks due to material concerns regarding leadership conduct and corporate culture. A statement that detonated across markets, wiping billions in projected valuation, sending Halverson stock into freefall, phones ringing unanswered as Richard Sr. stared at screens in disbelief. Margaret demanding explanations. Preston pale for the first time in his life as he scrolled headlines dissecting the incident leaked by multiple witnesses. The wine, the laughter, the entitlement, and as crisis meetings erupted, lawyers argued, and public relations teams scrambled. Evelyn remained composed, declining interviews, letting facts speak, because she understood that restraint amplified impact, and when Richard Sr. finally reached her, voice shaking between apology and threat, Evelyn listened patiently before, replying that Ardentis did not partner with companies whose leadership tolerated humiliation or dismissed accountability, that culture was strategy and strategy was non-negotiable. And when he protested that it was just a joke, Evelyn paused, then said quietly that jokes reveal values and values determine futures, and she ended the call, turning instead to opportunities flooding in from competitors eager to align with a company that stood for dignity, while the Halversons faced shareholder lawsuits, board revolts, and the slow, grinding realization that legacy could be undone by a single unearned laugh, and weeks later, at a smaller, quieter event celebrating Ardentis' new partnership, one built on respect and mutual benefit, Evelyn addressed her team, speaking not of revenge but of standards, of the importance of choosing partners who understood that power without humility was a liability, and as applause filled the room, she caught her reflection in a window, the faint memory of wine long gone, replaced by something stronger, a certainty earned through restraint and resolve, because the truth was never about a dress or a glass or a ballroom. It was about the moment people reveal who they are and the courage to believe them the first time. And somewhere across the city, Preston Halverson learned what no inheritance could shield him from. That actions echo, laughter can be expensive, and respect is the only currency. One long narrative paragraph. The crystal chandeliers of the Halverson Grand Ballroom glowed like frozen sunlight, scattering gold across polished marble as New York's elite gathered for what the Halverson family believed would be a coronation. The closing dinner before their historic $650 million merger with Ardentis Global. A deal that would rescue their aging manufacturing empire from the slow rot of irrelevance, and at the center of the room, surrounded by silk gowns, tailored tuxedos, and the low hum of confidence that only inherited wealth could produce, sat Evelyn Carter, the newly appointed CEO of Ardentis Global, calm and composed in a midnight blue dress that spoke not of trend but of authority. Her posture straight, her smile reserved, her eyes observant, because Evelyn had learned long ago that rooms like this revealed everything if you simply listened long enough, and she listened now as Richard Halverson Sr. boomed about legacy and vision, as Margaret Halverson nodded with practiced grace, and as their son Preston, 24, entitled, glossy with privilege and champagne, leaned back in his chair with the casual arrogance of someone who had never been told no and never paid the price for being wrong. And when the waiter passed with a tray of wine, Preston snatched a glass, swirling it theatrically, his eyes flicking to Evelyn with a smirk that suggested he had already decided what she was worth. And as conversation drifted toward leadership and fit, Preston interrupted with a laugh, too loud for the room, remarking how diversity hires were all the rage and how refreshing it was that Ardentis had found someone who could look the part. His parents chuckling indulgently as if he delivered a harmless joke rather than a sharpened insult, and Evelyn felt the familiar tightening in her chest, the memory of boardrooms where she'd been underestimated, of credentials questioned, of victories dismissed as luck. But she kept her face neutral, because she had learned that patience was power, yet Preston, emboldened by laughter and liquor, rose unsteadily, raising his glass in a mock toast to new beginnings. And as he leaned forward, he accidentally tipped the glass, red wine cascading down Evelyn's shoulder, staining her dress like a deliberate signature, the room freezing in a collective inhale as Preston laughed, a sharp, ugly sound, muttering something about clumsiness and relax, it's just wine. While Margaret Halverson waved a dismissive hand and Richard Sr. forced a smile, murmuring that accidents happen, their laughter following like punctuation. And in that moment Evelyn stood slowly, the wine dripping to the marble at her feet. The silence thick enough to bruise, and she said nothing, not a word, simply meeting Preston's eyes with a look so steady it unsettled him. Because there is a particular calm that comes before storms, and Evelyn Carter carried it like a crown, excusing herself politely to the restroom where she rinsed her hands, not her dress, staring into the mirror as memories flickered. Late nights building Ardentis from a regional logistics firm into a global powerhouse, outmaneuvering competitors who underestimated her, signing contracts that reshaped markets, being told she was impressive for someone like you. And when she returned, she took her seat, signaling for a napkin, listening as Richard Sr. clinked his glass to regain control, praising resilience and humor, suggesting they move past small misunderstandings. But something had shifted, a hairline fracture spreading beneath the surface, because while the Halversons believed power lived in their ballroom and their name, Evelyn knew power lived in leverage, and she held all of it. The deal structured with contingencies only she could activate, clauses designed to protect Ardentis from partners who failed to meet ethical and reputational standards, language her legal team had insisted upon after years of seeing arrogance mask risk. And as dessert arrived, Preston leaned over to whisper a non-apology, smirking as if daring her to react, and Evelyn smiled then. A small, polite smile that unsettled him more than anger ever could, because it promised consequences without revealing their shape, and the evening ended with handshakes and assurances, the Halversons confident that the ink was inevitable, unaware that in a quiet